talking to Steve Wynn from Green Syndicate. Could you tell me about how the reunion came about?
Interestingly enough, the guy who made it all happen was here today at the show. I'm sorry, my voice is kind of thrashed, which bodes well for the next two shows ahead, but the guy who put it all together, it happened in Spain. And we reformed for a festival in Spain in 2012, really spontaneously. You know, we broke up in 1988, the end of 88, after touring a long tour, and we had a lot of offers to reunite, and thank you, Pat, appreciate that so much. We'd had a lot of chance to do it, but the reality was we actually were friends. We all loved the band. It wasn't any kind of, behind the music kind of story. It was just a matter of we were all doing other things and just didn't get around to it. And had never discussed it. And when this offer came to a festival in Spain, it was one of those things, well, we all are into it. No one's doing anything else. Let's do it. And the idea of getting back together was kind of like, this is 10 years ago, 2012. The idea was, hey, let's do a show. If it's fun, we'll do a few more shows. If that's fun, we'll do a few more shows. Hey, if that's fun, we'll do a record. If that's fun, it was just one by one by one. And here we are, 10 years, a lot of tours and 4 albums, still having fun. So, that litmus test that bands give themselves and don't always follow of when it stops being fun, I'll stop doing it. That's a big lie, because a lot of bands sort of say that and keep doing it out of inertia. We're still learning things about each other all over again, so we'll keep going.
When you were playing that material again, what did it feel like? Did it feel like getting on a bicycle? Everything just came back?
Yeah, I'll tell you. We actually, because we started in Spain, we all met in Madrid for 3 days of rehearsal, and I'm not kidding you. After the second hour of rehearsal, we said, "We're done. We don't need those other 2 days. Let's go eat." Because it came back so quickly. It was such a natural thing. Now we're doing newer songs. We've made new albums, but back then when we reunited, of course we're doing the old songs. We played a lot of times, so we the fingers knew where to go. The arrangements arranged themselves. The words came back to me, and it was just automatic. It's funny, and yet at the same time, because we'd grown up, we'd played in other bands, we'd learned more things. Kind of brought all that to the music, and it felt, if anything, more relaxed and more lived in than it ever was before. And that was a good feeling.
That does sound.
Am I loud enough? I hope my voice is coming through now.
I think it's coming through just a bit more. I'm also wondering about the process of writing songs again. Has that process of putting the songs together changed?
Yeah. In fact, when we first reunited, we were just playing the old songs, and we were doing our best just to bring back memories for people, including ourselves. Once we started writing new songs, we became almost like a different band, a variation of who we were. I think the 21st Century Dream Syndicate is more of a psychedelic band. Even though we used to call ourselves Paisley Underground, we used to say we were a garage psychedelic band. We're more of a trippy band now, and we sort of reinvented who we are for the current time. So like a show like today, when we play old songs, then play new songs, they all fit together in some weird way, but to me, I can hear the difference between the eras.
I'm wondering about the term Paisley Underground. That was used to describe bands like you in the 80s. How did you feel about that label?
Liked it. I really thought, the name was invented by a guy, Michael Quercio from 3 O'Clock. And Michael, I know, hates the name. He came up with the name, and he dreads it. He feels like, I wish I never said that. I liked it at the time because we all were part of a scene. The Bangs, who became the Bangles, Salvation Army, who became 3 O'Clock, the Rain Parade. We were all friends. We were all fans of each other. And having a name for the scene gave it more attention worldwide than if we would have been all individuals. So it kind of made people pay more attention. And even to this day, it's historical context for what we do. And it gives it more than just a band with a bunch of records. So I'm happy with that.
Bands like you were also reaching back toward the 60s at that particular time. Why do you think that was? What drove some of you to incorporate those influences in the 80s?
Probably the same way young bands now want to sound like the 80s. I think you have sort of a romantic yearning for a period you didn't live through. So let's say a band right now who's in their early 20s and they want to sound like Sonic Youth, something like that. They have a fantasy of this groovy era that they didn't get to experience. Same way for us. We were all born in the 60s, but we didn't experience the Summer of Love. We didn't experience Woodstock. We didn't experience the Fillmore West. And so for us, it was this very romantic time. It also was the kind of music we all liked. So it wasn't in fashion, that's for sure. When we all started, that wasn't cool. We liked it.
And also, some of those artists, also came from Los Angeles, right? Like, say, the Byrds, for instance.
Who did?
Weren't the Byrds from L.A.?
Oh, yeah. Right, Byrds, Buffalo, Springfield. To be honest, and all those bands like those were big influences on the other bands. We were always more influenced by the New York bands. Dream Syndicate with more the Velvet Underground and the Velvet Underground and Television, for example. Even the Talking Heads, the CBGB's bands were more of an influence on us than, say, the LA bands. But that's just us. I think the other bands did love that kind of stuff. And of course, we love the Byrds, but we don't sound like them.
Did you ever get to meet some of those bands that influenced you, or any of those artists?
Not so much. Isn't that funny? I've actually, to be honest, I have gotten to know a couple of people in television pretty well, and so it's kind of cool meeting people like that. And even some of the bands who aren't as well known, but that came before us, a band like the DBs, who you may or may not know, but the DBs were a band right before us who I was a big fan of, and now they're some of my best friends and sometimes bandmates. So that's cool. But I never met any of the Velvet Underground. I never met, the 60s people at all. I'm okay with that. Sometimes meeting your heroes not the best thing.
I'm wondering, you're going to be revisiting Days of Wine and Roses. I mean, how does that feel for you to realize that it's been 40 years and to look back on that?
Well, 40 is a weird number because it's a big number. It doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel that long ago. So I don't know. It's kind of exciting. I mean, I see Paul McCartney do a lot of interviews, and he always says, I'm the biggest Beatles fan in the world. Paul McCartney says that. And I think he feels like he's the keeper of the Beatles legend. And he is obviously was part of it, but also can appreciate what it was to a lesser degree, not the Beatles, but I feel the same way with our band. I'm a fan of what we did. I'm proud of what we did, and we are the keepers of that sound. So it feels good to go out there and represent that on stage for people who maybe weren't alive when that came out. Today I met a couple people who were born long after that record came out, and they knew about it and they were excited to see it live. That's great. I think after a while, if you're a band that's been around for a long time, of course you're still viable, you're still learning, creating, but you're also representing a time, and you have the key to the information. You can talk about what happened, and I think that's an important thing. So I don't take that lightly, that we are the gateway to another era.
I'm wondering, that's great. Here's my final question. Okay. What would be your advice to young musicians starting out today?
Play the music you want to play. Don't listen to other people. Listen to what's in your own head. Play the sound you hear in your head. Don't let anyone tell you it's wrong, because if you like it, if you honestly love what you're doing, and you honestly think it's great music, somebody else will too.